From the front office showing a complete lack of ambition, to having plenty of other franchises ready to give it all up for him, here's why Luka Doncic is done with the Dallas Mavericks. For starters, the Mavs have blood on their hands for what they're doing with the best talent in the league. Sheer dumb luck gave Dallas the perfect opportunity in NBA history to build a dynasty. In case you don't remember, the Phoenix Suns actually had the #1 pick in 2018. And despite having a European coach at the helm who knew everything there is to know about Luka Doncic, they picked DeAndre Ayton. Then, the Sacramento Kings were given the chance to change their fortunes, and even they bailed, going for the more patriotic and dumb option of drafting Marvin Bagley III. If that wasn't bad enough, Luka went at third, but not to Dallas. Instead, to the Atlantic Hawks, who later traded him to the Mavericks for Trae Young. Oof. No shade to Young, but it's clear as day that Luka was always the bigger catch. And it took 3 teams to fumble for the Mavericks to get their chance at NBA domination. You'd expect them to grab that opportunity with both hands, right? Wrong. So to speak, the way the Mavs have gone about their business, the Kings or the Suns aren't the unlucky ones. Doncic is. I mean, can you imagine if he was playing for either one of those two franchises? There's no way the Kings or the Suns wouldn't have gone all out to surround Luka with a world-class supporting cast. And that's the Slovenian's biggest problem with his current employers: their laziness. How can you sit and let things run their course when the best talent in the league has no help at all? If anything, the Mavs have only made the team worse over the years, and this is not an exaggeration. If you remember, during the 2021 season, Dallas had another rising star at their disposal, someone with extraordinary chemistry with Doncic, Jalen Brunson. Where is he now? New York, signed by the Knicks because Mark Cuban is a penny pincher. Before that, in the 2020 season, the Mavs had Kristaps Porzingis. He may not have done a lot during his stay in Dallas, but he was still a player getting them 20 guaranteed points per contest. That roster also had Josh Richardson playing for the Mavericks, and he was another fantastic addition from the Sixers, playing 44 games and dropping over 12 points per game. He even contributed on the defensive end regularly. And now all these players are playing elsewhere. The right question to ask is whether the Mavericks got some quality in return, and the answer would be abso-frickin-lutely not. They got Spencer Dinwiddie in return for Porzingis, while the likes of Brunson and Richardson left for nothing. Dinwiddie was traded to Brooklyn before the 2023 trade deadline to get Kyrie Irving to Dallas, which brings me to the next problem. The Mavericks front office is not only unambitious, but they're also extremely incompetent. I mean, no wonder Luka's fed up with the Mavs. That front office has been notoriously bad ever since Mark Cuban took over. He may have brought a championship to Dallas, but trust me when I say this, the roster planning was horrific, and it was the biggest reason why Dirk Nowitzki couldn't bring more silverware. The difference was that Dirty Dirk was an extremely loyal superstar who loved living in Dallas, but the Mavericks need a reality check if they genuinely think that Luka will play by the same rules, and they can continue screwing up. The trade for Kyrie was easily one of the worst in recent history. Not only did the Mavs give up 2 important players in Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith, but also a first-round unprotected pick along with 2 second-round picks. Kyrie's a fantastic player though, so why is this a bad move? You see, as good as Kyrie is on the court, he's also someone who was set to hit free agency right after the end of the 2023 campaign. So practically speaking, not only did the Mavs trade away crucial resources to get Irving and for a grand total of 6 months, but they also failed to make the playoffs, the only reason Kyrie was brought in. And yeah, I know the Mavs can still re-sign him in free agency, but he's not gonna be cheap, and they've got many more gaps to plug all over their roster. There are 2 moments in the NBA where fans completely give up on their teams. The first is when their favorite franchise is starting a rebuild from scratch and have traded away their best player. The other one is when the front office has made so many blunders that you have a terrible roster and no resources to fix it. I don't need to explain which one is worse, because clearly you'd much rather be a fan of the team with a brighter future, no? Unfortunately for the Mavs fans, their future isn't promising at all, especially if they want to build around Luka. For Doncic, this is a major reason why he's lost faith in the organization, because everyone knows that he desperately needs some help and that the Mavs don't have the facilities to get him that. It must be so frustrating hitching your wagon to a franchise and then realizing they're happy just making the playoffs every other season, rather than going ahead and building a dynasty for years to come. That said, Luka has an exit route. Every player in the NBA does, and the problem for the Mavericks is the more they avoid solving their issues, the closer Luka gets to the exit door. I mean, there's already rumors flying about his potential exit, and the worst part is how Mark Cuban acknowledges the problem. Talking about the Doncic problem back in April 2023, Cuban explained how he knows that the Slovenian wants to be a part of the franchise for the rest of his career, but also knows that the franchise has to earn that right to keep him. Well, if it is such common knowledge, then why aren't you doing something about it, Mark? Is Shark Tank really more important than an investment you've already made? Other NBA insiders have also joined in and discussed how Doncic isn't too made up with the way things are. Heck, Luka himself said that 2023 was the unhappiest he's been since joining the Mavericks, and it doesn't take a genius to understand what he was hinting at. Something has to change for the Mavs to become regular contenders, and it has to start with the front office making the right moves, getting Doncic the help he deserves. Cuban compared the situation of his superstar with a Giannis, saying that before the Greek Freak won the championship with the Milwaukee Bucks, there were rumors about him leaving too. Then he compared it to Dirk Nowitzki, and how the 2011 championship changed the perception of people regarding the Mavs. Now the thing is, there's a lot wrong about those comparisons. First off, you can't compare Giannis' situation with Luka, because the Bucks actually did make the right moves, and built all around their franchise player. As far as Nowitzki's concerned, that was like a decade ago, and things were a lot different back then to today's NBA. Someone like Luka is never sticking around as long as Dirk did. Why? Because he's a winner, and he's always been a winner. El Matador won the EuroLeague as a teenager, and he was the talisman, taking home the MVP award too. A year before that, he was a crucial part of the Slovenian national team, which won the Eurobasket, and Luka made the all-tournament team. Clearly, he's not going to be happy finishing in the lottery places with Dallas. His aims are to win the NBA championship, and he has the talent to do it, which is why he won't stop until he gets his hand on that ring. Nothing will stop him from living his dream. And when I say nothing, I mean it. If the Mavericks won't give him what he needs, there are at least 24 other teams that will. Again, folks, this is not an exaggeration. Everyone in the NBA realizes that Doncic is once in a generational player, and should he become available, every team will look to bring him home. For the Mavericks, it'll be the biggest fumble in NBA history, having a star like Luka not winning anything with him and then letting him leave to another franchise. No wonder he's already sick of the Mavericks, huh? Things will only get much worse from here, until and unless the Mavs can make some big changes and surrounded Luka with the quality that he needs to contend. He's not even asking for much. Players like Doncic can win you the biggest prizes with half-decent players and a little bit of depth. Hopefully for Dallas' sake, they make the most of the opportunity they have here, or risk becoming a meme forever. So, from having plenty of other franchises ready to give it all up for him, to the front office showing a complete lack of ambition, that's why Luka Doncic is done with the Dallas Mavericks.